Honestly, guys, thank you. I posted my first video on BMW rear camber, and I think it's at almost, I don't know, 1,500 views right now, which is way more than I ever expected to get on my first video. So I really appreciate that, and I had such an overwhelming positive response and people asking to make a front camber video. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. There's many different methods to get front camber on BMWs, whether it's the E46 or the E36. And I figured the best thing to do would to first show you guys methods that work on both the cars, then show you methods that work on E46 only, and then show you methods that work on E36 only. So stick with me. I'm going to show you how to get front camber. So this is definitely the best way to get front camber on the 36 and 46. It's definitely the most legitimate and safest besides getting a full-blown angle kit. But basically what it is E36 control arms that are extended 2 inches like this. Basically the reason you want E36 control arms is because the E46 control arms are aluminum, so they cannot be welded, or if they do, they'll be pretty weak. But basically, you just weld a block in here. I recommend, if you do them yourself or if you have someone do them, have them weld a plate either on the side or on the top to help with the reinforcement. My friend Sean, who I'll link his Instagram here, he did these for me. He did a fantastic job. The welds are awesome. So like I was saying, this is like a universal way to get the front camber on the BMWs. On E36s, they just bolt on, plug and play. The only thing you need is longer tie rods, since this pushes the hub out from the bottom. But you can either make custom ones, you can get pre-made ones from, let's say, SLR Speed, and also you can use E90 tie rods, I'm pretty sure, as they're longer than the E36 or 46 ones. If you're putting these on E46, it's basically the same thing. You just need the longer tie rods. The only other thing you're going to need is these bushings. I got these from Camber. They're awesome. But basically, the only reason you need these is because the carrier on E46 control arms is different. And also, the end of the control arm, where it goes into the bushing, is different. On E46, they're a hex head. And on E36, they're this round head. So you need to get the bushings that convert it to the round head. So I'm actually going to be throwing these control arms in, probably in this video, but I got these Kanzes and they fit awful. But I'm hoping that if I push the bottom of the hub out with the extended control arms and then also pull some camber out from the top, it will give me a wider track on the car and hopefully push the hub out so that the wheels fit better. So that brings me into my next method of getting camber on BMWs, which is these SLR plates. And there's a lot of controversy on these just because you actually have to cut into your strut towers, which essentially is totaling your car because it has frame damage. But basically, you buy these SLR plates. They're meant to be run the other way so that if you have an angle kit on the bottom, you don't have extreme amount of camber from it being pushed out. But you can also run them this way where you can use it to get extreme negative camber. So a few things I recommend when running the SLR plates is, one, when you're cutting the slot, make sure that you're using a hole saw and you do not have any 90-degree cuts in it because they will crack. And I've seen that happen to people and it destroys their strut tower. Another thing is running the reinforcement plates between the strut and the strut tower. Even if you're not running SLR plates, I recommend those for anybody that has coilovers. The third thing is a strut bar, and I don't have a strut bar because my motor's raised and it wouldn't fit, but I have taken the plates from a strut bar and cut the tabs off of them and used them for extra reinforcement on the top of the strut. If your motor isn't raised, like on the E36 here, then you can run a strut bar, and I recommend that as well. This has the SLR plates installed on it. You can't even see them, but this just gives that extra protection so that you know that you're not going to break your strut towers. Now, getting back to E46 methods, there really aren't any specifically for this car that wouldn't work on the E36 as well. This is really the only car that has specific methods to get front camber on it. But like I said, the two best methods for E46 is the SLR plates and also the extended E36 lowers. So now moving on to E36, we'll be talking about a couple methods on this as well. The first thing you can do is run E46 front lower control arms. This car doesn't have them yet, but it will soon. But basically, the E46 control arms are longer than the E36 ones. So if you don't want to have to cut and weld these, you can just run some OEM E46 ones, and they will give you the camber. The only thing, same with the other control arms, is that you'll need to run tie rods that are longer, and you'll also need to run the Condor bushings that adapt it to the hex head. The other method is this here, which is running a longer bolt and washers on the bottom of the strut. And since this has a different hub setup than the E46, it hinges from the top so you can space out the bottom, giving it camber. But I really don't recommend this method unless you're running maybe 1 or 2 washers just to get a little extra degree of camber if you want to fit a wheel. But this much I definitely don't recommend. It hasn't given me any issues, but I definitely will be swapping out these control arms to E46 ones so I can eliminate having to use this method. This is really all the methods that I know of on how to get front camber on BMWs. I mean, on this car, we got -11 with the washers and the SLR plates. And on this car is about -9 with just the SLR plates. But since I'm going to be throwing these control arms on my car anyway, I figured I'd record it just in case any of you guys were curious in the process or wanted to do it yourself. So I'm going to pull off my stock control arms and I'll get back to you guys on a tutorial. All right, and just like that, stock control arms are out. These are ready to go in. I just have to swap the carriers and also the bushing, and then I'll be good to go. So I'm gonna figure out the best way to get these bushings off. All right, there we go. A little rubber on there, but first bushing's off. Wasn't too hard. I definitely recommend just going ham on those little metal piece or the rubber pieces right there, and then ripping that off, and then the little metal sleeve on the inside. I recommend just cutting it real quick, and it comes right off. So that's it for that. I'll do the other one, and then I'll work on getting these bushings off, which seem kind of more of a pain, but it is what it is. All right, both of these are done. Now time to move on to these. So I'll figure out how to get these off, and I'll let you guys know. I mean, as you saw, the easiest way to get these off is just hammer them off. And unfortunately, out of all the tools I have, I don't have a Sawzall. So this is going to be postponed for a couple days. Definitely went easier than I thought so far, though. And also, this is a good time to show you how the E46 and E36 have different ends on the control arm and why you need the bushings from Condor to adapt them. So E46 is this hexagon head. So you can't just throw an E36 control arm into an E46 bushing because this one has the round head. You can even see it in the bushing as well. So on the contrary, when I'm throwing these on the E46, it has the round head. So that's why I need these bushings that have the round head in them so that they can adapt these carriers to these control arms, if that makes sense. All right, yeah, just, torch them till they catch and let the rubber burn out and basically just hammer it out when they're done. So that's pretty much it. There we go. I'm probably gonna get roasted for how much I struggled with that, but it's out. So all right, so here we are. Sleeves and bushings are out. The Condor bushings are ready to go in. These are offset, so the offset goes towards the side with the bolts, and also the lip on them sits towards the front of the car. I do have a press, but just for those of you out there who don't and are just using tools in your garage, I'm just going to be putting these in with a piece of wood and a hammer. So pretty simple, just make sure they're lined up straight, wood on top, tap with a hammer till it slides into place. So I'll take a video of that and I'll show you guys. Bushings are in. Now just hammer them onto the control arms. We're good to go. Just make sure you got the right side. This is passenger side with passenger side control arm. And same thing, just line it up and hammer it on. Now just throw these on the car and we're good to go. Here's the final product. Still got to raise it a little bit. Obviously still got to throw tie rods in too, because my car is doing a little bit of a stanky leg right now. But overall, looks sick. Got about -14, even though I'll be pulling some camber out from the top, so it's more fender to lip when I raise it. But again, huge thanks to Sean for doing my lowers, and huge help. Hit him up if you need any welding done. He's a fantastic welder, and that's about it. So again, thank you guys so much for the support. It really means a lot, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out in some way. And with that being said, thank you for watching. And of course, say no to takeovers, because they suck and they're ruining the car scene. So, good night.